Good afternoon everyone, it's Debbie Evans here, and today I'm delving into book 4, The Secret Adventures of Rolo, Jewel Dog and the Dragons. And the chapter I'd like to share with you is all about Rolo and Aesop's Fables, so a little bit of ancient Greece popping in. The floppy-haired boy is reading Aesop's Fables. This is a collection of short moral tales thought to have been created when a slave called Aesop in ancient Greece, somewhere between 650 and 564 BC, this storyteller used animals as characters in his stories to get his simple messages across. None of the characters are named, they're simply called the wolf, the fox, the crane, the goat, and so on. The floppy-haired boy is lying on his bed, leaning on his hands and deeply engrossed in the stories. He hasn't put the stairgate up, so I'm assuming I'm allowed to venture to the grate upstairs and into his boy cave. I creep in quietly so as not to disturb him, and then put my front paws up on his back and lean back, up on his bed and lean back, wagging my tail and looking at him appealingly. The trick works and he pats the duvet next to him and goes straight back to his book. You're lucky Mum's out, Rolo, or you wouldn't be allowed up here. But you know that, don't you, clever boy? Actually, what I do know is that I like human company, and to tunnel under the duvet where I feel safe and warm as if I were in a foxhole, when I can get away with it. The floppy-haired boy is usually a soft touch. You'll like this one, Rolo, he said, and started to read out loud. A dog, to whom the butcher had thrown a bone, was hurrying home with his prize as fast as he could go. As he crossed a narrow bridge, he happened to look down and saw himself reflected in the still water as if in a mirror. But the greedy dog thought he saw another dog carrying a bone much bigger than his own. If he'd stopped to think, he would have known better, but instead of thinking, he dropped his bone and sprang at the dog in the river, only to find himself swimming for dear life to reach the shore. At last he managed to scramble out, and as he stood sadly thinking about the good bone he had lost, he realised what a stupid dog he had been. And the moral of this tale is, it is very foolish to be greedy. Okay, Rolo, have you got that? Well, I thought this was rather silly. I would have put my bone down safely on the bank before jumping in to take the bigger bone off the river dog, but hey, it's just a story. Here's another one. The floppy-haired boy shared the tale of the cockerel and the jewel with me. The cockerel was busy scratching and scraping to find something to eat for himself and his family. He happened to turn up a precious jewel that had been lost by its owner. "Aha," said the cockerel, "no doubt you are very costly, and he who lost you would give a great deal to find you. But as for me, I would choose a single grain of barley corn before all the jewels in the world." I put my head on one side, waiting to hear the moral. "And here's the punchline, Rolo," continued the floppy-haired boy. "Precious things are without value to those who cannot prize them." He closed the book and went downstairs. I followed, hoping for a treat if he was going anywhere near the biscuit tin. I was rewarded with a dog biscuit in the shape of a bone, while he tucked into a few chocolate ones. Just as well the smiley lady was out. I curled up in my basket and he went out on his skateboard. That last fable got me thinking. What if the jewel in the fable was the one from my collar? Supposing I was actually visiting Aesop in ancient Greece in my dragon form and somehow lost the jewel. How would I get back to present times, and how could I turn back into Rolo, the lovable Jack Russell, without it? Here's an idea. Aesop and I are in the hen house, and he makes up the story, and during the telling of it, with me and the hens as rapt listeners, somehow the jewel becomes loose and falls on the floor. The mishap goes unnoticed by the broody hens that are sleepy on their roosts, but it is seen by the clever cockerel whose bright beady eyes spies the sparkling jewel lying there amongst the straw. The cockerel tucks it away for safekeeping. Aesop and I move on to another location and weave another story, oblivious to the fact that I have lost the jewel and the consequences thereof. When I realise the jewel is missing, I run back to the hen house with a whole sack of barleycorn to bargain with the cockerel, because that jewel is worth so much to me and nothing at all to him. My mind was reeling and my imagination was working overtime. I longed to make up my own fable. The floppy-haired boy said that that's what people did these days. They used the original format of setting a scene and animals to describe some of the action, and then reached a conclusion backed up by a thought-provoking message. So here goes then. A Jack Russell is out chasing rabbits in the wild, and before long he realised he'd wandered far and is lost. Sniffing about here and there, trying to find a familiar trail, he spies a panther with a hungry look on his face. The Jack Russell thinks, "Oh dear, I'm in deep trouble now." He sees some bones on the ground and at once crouches over them with his back to the stealthy panther. The panther coils a short distance away and is about to spring on his lunch when the wily Jack Russell smacks his lips noisily, burps and says out loud, "That was such a tasty panther. I wonder where I can find another one for dessert." When this outburst reaches the hungry panther's ears, he diverts his leap and instead slinks off into the wood. The panther says out loud, "Golly, that was a near thing. I nearly ended up as the Jack Russell's lunch." Overhead in the tree, a monkey is watching this pantomime and plans how he can use this to his advantage. The monkey chases after the hungry panther and tells him what he saw in exchange for the promise of protection from the panther. The panther listens and is angry about being fooled by the Jack Russell and made to look silly in front of the monkey. So he tells the monkey to jump on his back so he can witness how he will take revenge on the Jack Russell. The wily Jack Russell sees the sly monkey riding the hungry panther coming straight for him. And there you can see Chantal's wonderful drawing. Uh-oh, I'm for it now. Time for some quick thinking. Instead of instinctively scarpering as fast as his paws can carry him, the Jack Russell sits with his back to the nearing panther. When he is sure they are within earshot, he says out loud, "I wonder where that sly monkey has got to. I sent him off a while ago to bring me another panther for pudding." And the moral of my fable? A quick-witted Jack Russell will outsmart even the scariest animal. Not bad, if I say so myself. Shame I can't share this self-penned fable with the floppy-haired boy. So thank you very much for listening. This was the 4th book in the Secret Adventures of Rolo series, and I'll be back again tomorrow to read some more, and I will be talking about unicorns. So thank you very much, and goodbye for now.